Well, the Tzemach Tzedek was the third Rebbe of Chabad, third Rebbe of Chabad. And he was, this is, of course, in the time of the Tsar, right? Communism only set in after the fifth Rebbe of Chabad passed away. The fifth Rebbe of Chabad, our Rebbe over here, that's the seventh Rebbe, right? That's the seventh Rebbe. And before him was the Rebbe Rayatz, that's the sixth Rebbe. The sixth Rebbe of Chabad, he began to be Rebbe in 1920. That's when communism set in. But before that, Chabad was under the Tsar. Now, the Tsar, they were very big anti-Semites. Yeah, it was the church. But on the other hand, it's true they were anti-Semites, but they were religious. They believed in God. And because they believed in God, so you had who to talk to. There was who to talk to. The communists, they didn't believe in anything. So there was no one to talk to. Like the communists, they just killed people. They just killed people. The Tsar also killed people, but not as indiscriminately as communism. Communism was just a movement of death, right? And the Tsarism, that was just a movement of a king, a bad king, a terrible king. But nevertheless, it was a king, and they believed in God. They were firm believers in God. Okay. And so they were always constantly trying to weaken or destroy or bring Judaism to make concessions, even little concessions, because they firmly, fanatically believed in their religion. There was Russian Orthodox, which Russian Orthodox is a little bit different from Catholic Orthodox. Their ideas are also different, but nevertheless, there still is part of that old general religion. And they were trying to do everything that they could to weaken Judaism. And amazingly, Judaism held out in these countries. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. It was like, one little sliver in an ocean. The whole entire country was fanatically, Russian Orthodox. And here in the middle of this whole thing is this one little, this one little boil, like somebody's neck or something like that. Boil is the Jewish people, a little bone in the throat. Oh, everybody's Judaism. So they were always trying to at least scare them, make some concession. So the Tzemach Tzedek, he went to the rabbinical convention in Petersburg. And one of the things on the rabbinical convention in Petersburg is that they wanted to make a deal with the government. They wanted to make deals with the government, that the government were trying to force Judaism, and they said they're going to make pogroms. And obviously, the obvious thing to do was that, we're outnumbered 1,000 to 1. Let's make a little concessions. Come on, you have to be normal. And the Chabad rabbis were always totally against it, nothing whatsoever. We're not going to change our education system. We're not going to teach them. And they want to learn Russian, they'll do it on their own. They want to learn whatever books they want, they'll do it on their own. But we're not going to teach it in our schools. Our schools are going to have a chance to learn pure Torah, what God is, what Torah is, etc. Okay, so all the rabbis basically were all for making some sort of a concessions, being sort of a little bit normal, reasonable. And the Tzemach Tzedek, the third Rebbe of Chabad, was totally against it. So he listed 3 things by which he was successful in the rabbinical convention in Petersburg in 1843. One of these was, listen to this, the 32,000 hours that he labored over the Alter Rebbe's Maimorim in the 30 years from, from 5564 until 5594. In other words, the years preceding, right? The years between 5594, which was 1837, from like in the year 1837 until the year 1837. The first Rebbe of Chabad, he passed away in the time when Napoleon was attacking Russia. That was like in 1813 or something, 1812. Okay, so all of the 30 years, the third Rebbe of Chabad, he was the grandson of the first Rebbe. Third Rebbe of Chabad, he spent 32,000 hours on the speeches of his grandfather. And there was the Alter Rebbe's discourses. And then after that, he published them, and that's what we learn in the morning. That's what we learn in the morning in the Kuti Torah. and the merit of the thousands of hours, tens of thousands of hours that he spent learning these mimers. How long do we spend on them learning the mimers? We spend like 45 minutes every morning. So every week we spend, what do we spend? The 4 hours, something like that. And he spent 30,000 hours. Okay. Anyway, the Halavai with Baruch Hashem, we learn it at all. But you see how important it was. And the Tzemach Tzedek was a tremendous genius in Torah. And I'm sure that the first time he read the Maimorim, he understood everything there was to understand. And nevertheless, thousands of hours he poured over every word to learn something and to be exact on what the Rebbe said. Okay. Yes.